Okay, so welcome to the third walk around the village. This time I hope I figured out the sound issues, but this time we're going to go and have a look at a pond, and I think you can still get to it through here. So this is all a new build area, so I'm a bit uncertain because a few years ago it was all fields and a muddy path. So the question is if you can still get through here. Yes, you can. I think. Young horses and llamas in the field. So let's see if we can open it. So that took 2 hands to get through. So yeah, when I was, well, not even when I was a kid, just a few years ago, all of those houses were, somebody's sort of shed was on it, and there was a yard and just a mud path, and now it's all a housing estate. So I wasn't too sure if you could still get through here, but apparently you can. So today we're going on a little walk to the duck pond. Oh, and there's a llama. Hello, llama. Don't know how well you can see that. There's llamas and horses here, and the llamas are here. It's something to do with the relationship between llamas and horses. I think one keeps the other calm, or llamas protect sheep, actually I think it might be. I can't remember, have to look it up. Here we've got another gate. This one's got a hook on it and a bolt. There we go. And so because there's llamas and horses and animals, we're going to be going around the side of the field, not straight through the middle of it. Last time I was here there was a very, very playful foal who basically came up and was jumping around all over the place, and came up to nudge me. And of course it was only a small foal, it was a small horse. But of course even a small horse is pretty powerful. So it was nudging me playfully and I was almost flying into the bushes. Oh. Hello. Good morning. Hello, darlings. It's a very contented looking llama. Alright, so the reason that we're going to have a look at the duck pond is to do with the witches again, and I am going to do a separate video all about the witches. But this is kind of like a different piece of the folklore. So on the last walk I was talking about Jenny Greentooth, who is the witch who lives in Riverbends, and her green hair trails out as waterweed, and it's a tale to stop young children from going swimming in river bends, because you get dragged under, and if you get caught in the weed, you're not coming back up again. Oh, lovely day. Very, very misty today. I've literally just been for a haircut, so my first in 3 years. And it was looking really grim this morning, so I wasn't going to come for a walk. And then I stepped out and I thought, oh, it looks like it's about to get a bit better, so I will come on this walk. So Jenny Greentooth, I said, is very similar to well, let's just get through this gate somehow. Oh, they don't make it easy. There we go. Start to pull my jeans up again. Oh, there's Hollowell Sailing Club in the distance over there. When we went on our last walk, I pointed and said that there was sometimes sails on the water. Yes, so Jenny Greentooth is the witch that lives in the river bends. She's very similar to Black Annis, who lives at Daneshill in Leicestershire, who was another witch who basically stalks the land at night. And Jenny Greentooth drags children under the water, and Black Annis drags them into her cave. So it's sort of a cautionary tale for children not to go wandering around at night or wandering where you shouldn't. And these stories are used all over the place. And here in Guilsborough, we also had the legend of a witch who climbed out of a pond or a pool, Pell's Pool, and dragged children into the water and killed them. Now, growing up as a child, I always thought that this was Pell's Pool, but it isn't. And I'll explain that later. What this is a duck pond. I think we're actually on Lowtherland again, like the last walk. But yeah, even though this isn't the folklorish pond of the witch, I still really, really like this little walk. In fact, let's go over that way and down through the woods and round. So there's a housing estate in the village called Pell's Close, and the pond that the witch lived in was Pell's Pool. Now, in the last video we went past the old fire station, and apparently Pell's Pool is where they used to get the water to put out the fires. So the fire engines would go to Pell's Pool, drag up the water, go and put out the fire. Now we do still have a fire station in the village, but it's a proper modern one with hoses and all of that. But the pool's apparently still there, but I've never actually seen it. I'd like to. And I once went looking for it, and I was told by a very knowledgeable villager that the pool was in the back garden or close to somebody's house. And so I went and knocked on the door of the house, and the guy opened the door, and when I explained what I was looking for, he looked a bit panicked. And he was very, very reticent to talk to me. But at the time, I was a young girl standing on his doorstep asking about local history. And the reason he was so worried, it turned out, is because he was trying to sell the house and the basement kept flooding. And he didn't want anybody to know this in case it affected the sale of the house. So he told me not to tell anybody. And so the water, I think, belonged to Pell's Pool, was affecting his house. And of course I said I'd never tell anybody, and I never have until now. And I think his house was sold many, many years ago, so it's no longer an issue. So the water still runs over that part of the village, but I've never actually seen Pell's Pool. Instead, we've got the duck pond, where rumour has it high school kids used to come skinny dipping in their youth. I didn't, but I did hear that some people did. And actually, I wrote a book a few years ago called Creeper's Cottage, which was set in David Southall's Hookland. And Hookland is a really clever invention. So David created this concept of a county in England where folklore just basically pools in this one imaginary county. All the folklore of England and the British Isles basically comes to life, and he invited all artists, you know, writers, painters, photographers, any kind of artist, to set stories and artwork based in Hookland. So it's kind of got a cult following now. And I wrote a novel set there, and there's a scene about 2/3 of the way through the book where they've just finished relocating an ancient church onto private land to preserve it. And in the party that they all throw themselves into the pond on the local land. So there's a pond on this estate. And in my head, this was always the pond. So there's another pond where they all go skinny dipping, but I based that on a friend's place down the road. But this is the pond I imagine to be on the estate where the boat is sinking, and they're all throwing themselves in the water. So yeah, a bit of random pointless trivia there. So I do draw a lot of inspiration from the land around me, you know. That particular book was heavily influenced by... Oh, there's some swans having a bit of a barney over there. Yeah, that book, Creeper's Cottage, was also heavily influenced by the Black Country Museum, which is where they filmed a lot of Peaky Blinders. And it's basically a preservation museum, a living museum. They've got one in Wales as well, where all of the old and ancient houses that scatter the landscape in the UK get gathered up and relocated to private land so that they can be kept and shown and people can walk around them, whereas otherwise they'd just be knocked down and disappear into the sands of history. So I really like living museums. I think they're very clever. Hello, sheepy sheep. Should be able... Oh, I can just see our house from down here. So you probably can't on this camera because it's not that good at far away stuff. But there's a white house in front of us, and just behind that white house is my house where I grew up. And when I am in the attic and I look out of the window, these are the fields that I look out over. Hello, hello sheepy weep. Hello, la, la, la. Very curious sheep. I'm wondering if he's upset that I'm disturbing them, or if he just wants to be on camera. So yeah. Oh, they've put a fence around it. There was never a fence around the pond before. It's probably good that they have. Stop the witches climbing out. Because even though this isn't Pell's Pool, it's just the duck pond, I still believe that there is probably a witch living in it. And I've actually walked along here before, walked around it before, and seen massive oyster shells. And I know that's a difficult thing to believe, because why would there be oyster shells in a village pond? But I think there might be freshwater oysters in there. I mean, it was a huge I beg your pardon? very vocal sheep behind me. Yeah, there might be freshwater oysters in there, or there were. I love little water tunnels and things. I always want to know what's in them, and with this camera I can actually take a quick look. I won't know what's down there until I get back tonight and look at the footage. Oh, there's a swan over there coming towards us with its full arcing wings. Very, very beautiful when they do that. See if we can get a closer look further up. Which way do we go round? There's a very big chain on this gate. And a sign. See, everything's changing. Every time I come back it's slightly different. Oh, I just leant on that fence over there and I'm just looking at this and it looks like it's an electric fence. Oh dear. I didn't feel anything, so maybe it's not on. I'm not sure if that's an electric fence, but it looks like it's all bolted up to something. Okay, so I don't know what this contraption is on it. Is it just a weight that automatically closes the gate? That's what I reckon it is. So let's try it. Open the latch, come through. Oh, that's clever. And then that piece of concrete tied onto it automatically weights the gate closed. Damn, that's clever. I like that. Very clever. And the fence ends. Actually, I don't know if electric fences are still legal. I assume they are. I'm not sure. Maybe that wasn't, or maybe that was just double fencing. I thought that there was, I was leaning over to look underneath the water bridge. I was thinking, oh, I wonder if there's an electric fence here. Probably should think about those things first before doing the leaning. Oh, that's beautiful. What a really beautiful swan. Oh, there's an abandoned wheelbarrow over there. And an abandoned boat, which is interesting because, again, in my novel, when I was thinking about this particular pond, I did put a sunken boat on it, but I've never seen a sunken boat on it before, and now there is one. How strange. Sometimes stories start to come to life, manifest themselves in the real world. Oh, I'm glad I came out for a walk. I really want to take a nice picture of that swan, but I can't do it whilst I'm filming, so I'm going to stop for a moment. So I just took the photo of the swan and it was sailing away, and now that I've stopped taking photographs, it's coming towards me. One thing I've definitely discovered since doing these walks and videoing and taking photographs is that the human eye is utterly incredible. The detail, I can see every feather on the wing of that thing, whereas, you know, if even with a really good camera, you take it out, you lose so much of it. It is amazing what the human eye can pick up compared to even sort of 4K cameras. Oh, can you hear that? It sounds like budgerigars in Africa. Like hundreds and hundreds of little tiny birds up in that tree having a conversation. It's a very strange light today. Well, you couldn't really tell what time of day it is. It's probably about, oh, I don't know, 9:30 now. But it could be any time of day. Just going to try and take one more photo. No. Let's keep going. Look at it with my eyes and then keep walking. Oh, let's see if we can get an artistic shot down here. Is that artistic? I don't know. See any witches? Related to the troll under the bridge where we're playing poo sticks. Nice place to live if you're a swan though. Oh, a little bench made out of 2 logs. I assume there's sometimes people fishing around here. I'm not sure. Oh, look at the water reeds. Witch's fingers. When I stopped to take the picture of the swans, there was a really big bird came in. And I assume it was probably a grey heron. So we might see one of those along the way. Oh my goodness. Listen carefully. Did you hear that? I think that was a woodpecker. There's nothing else it could be. Yeah, I reckon that's a woodpecker. And what do you reckon that's for? It's just a plank of wood coming out of the side of the bank. Huh, obstacle course maybe? A way to get over the fence. Don't know. Definitely a woodpecker. Little green bench. See who this one's dedicated to. He laideth me beside the still waters. Restoration by Brian Jocelyn, Easter 2005. So this was restored in 2005, but it looks a little bit like it needs restoring again. I'm just wondering actually, because when I was a kid there was a bench that looked suspiciously like this one up on the village green. I used to walk home with my friend Danielle and we'd sit on the bench opposite the shop eating sweets and talking, and that bench disappeared a while ago, and I couldn't say for absolute certain, but potentially that might be it, which would be nice. It would be nice to know that the bench I sat on as a kid hasn't been taken off for scrap and that it is now sitting next to the haunted pool, which would be very apt, but don't know, couldn't say for absolute certain. It does look a lot like it though. Oh, dear me, there's a fight kicking off over there between the swans and the Canada geese. Oh, and there's a grey goose as well with a big orange beak. Oh, they're all in it tonight. You wouldn't think there'd be a huge amount to fight about here, really, would you? It's not like it's overcrowded. And over this side, we've got a huge circle of knotted trees. I always call those witching copse. So copse is sort of a circle or a group of trees. And I always sort of feel like in the middle of those sort of things there's sort of a sabbat of witches dancing in a circle. I think I wrote a short story about that somewhere. Never go into a witching copse. So we're coming back round. Just head back up the hill to home. It's a very, very short walk, this one. And if you come this way, be very careful about the llamas and the horses and stick to the side of the field whilst you're walking through them. Let's carry on around here just a little bit and see what's there. Oh, there's autumn leaves again. Swan coming to greet us. Just going to try and take one more photograph. It's a really beautiful light off the water. So I think I finally managed to get a decent photograph of a swan. But look at this. Enchanting light. Enchanting light, enchanting sheep. Hello, darling. Very, very beautiful swans. Which I also wrote a book about, I believe. Something to do with the children of Lear. Just wanted to take a little look at this. What on earth happened here? Was it a lightning tree? Perhaps? We can see inside it. Can we reach? Possibly. Fascinating old tree stump. Burnt out inside. Oh, it's muddy round here. I thought I'd escape with dry feet this time, but definitely not. Oh, and you can't continue round that way. But there's a bench. I'm not going to sit on it because it looks a bit damp. But nice view. Oh, looks like somebody's had a barbecue here. I didn't know witches like barbecues. Right, let's figure out how to get back up. That woodpecker is really going for it. We get those black and white woodpeckers with the little red heads. I think we also get green woodpeckers, like the ones you see on the side of cider cans. But usually in the garden you'll see black, white and red woodpeckers coming to eat from the bird feeders. Although not very many this year, as again it's so unbelievably warm. I mean, this feels like maybe an early autumn day if it wasn't for all of the leaves having fallen off the trees. Definitely doesn't feel like the middle of winter. I saw on the news yesterday that Greece is heavily under snow. My friend Lexi sent me a video of the Acropolis covered in snow and said that's very unusual. So the weather is all over the place at the moment. Just stopped to pull up my jeans again. Really need to get a belt. Really do. So apparently all of this fencing is part of the Anglia Improvement Fund, paid for by your fishing licence money. So anybody who wants to fish here or Ravensthorpe or anywhere needs to buy a fishing licence, and they use that to keep the waterways accessible, which is good. It's nice to know that the money's going somewhere useful. So many fun little gates to get through in the countryside. Oops, oh dear God. There we go. Alright, back up the hill then. Much shorter walk than the other ones. Try not to get mugged by sheep on the way. They look harmless, but you know, I think they secretly run the underworld in the countryside. Ooh, it's windy. So there's a main road over there somewhere, and you can pull up there and go through the gate and come here. But we came through the housing estate at the top because that's closer to home. Doopy doopy doo, doopy doo. So yeah, I believe that the actual Pell's Pool is or was or still is or might still be along the road that we went to. Oh, there's somebody up there walking dogs. Along the road that we went to get to the Leafy Lane walk. We went past the National Speed signs. Oh. Hello. There's a couple of sheep here having a chew. So we always say that if you see cows sitting down, it means rain's on the way, because they're protecting a patch of warm, dry earth so that their bellies don't get wet and cold. I'm not sure about sheep. I think sheep just stand up and sit down whenever they feel like it. So yeah, not sure. My mum grew up on a farm, but I think I'm one generation too far removed from that to know all of the truth about it. remember where the gate is now. This has been a much less chatty walk than the last one. But I'm glad that I got out and that the weather held. You'll probably see some of this footage reused when I finally do the Village Witches video, which I've been threatening for quite a while. There's just so much to include. I have to go back through all the notes. It's quite a complex story. Especially as one of the women accused of witchcraft in 1612. I think if you look at the village records, I think it was her brother was the village warden at the time. I might have to correct myself when I finally do the video. Whew, I'm out of breath already. But yeah, there was definitely some interesting family dynamics going on at that time. Yeah, that was it. I think it was her little brother who got her in trouble. Big old country houses around here. Very Jane Austen. Whew. Okay, so I'm just going to walk back the way that I came, so probably going to turn this off now. But yeah, that's 3 walks. So we've done Ravensthorpe Reservoir, we've done the Leafy Lane, we saw Jenny Greentooth, and the duck pond, where we've seen llamas. Yay llamas. Okay, so then I shall leave you here.